Right, you have raised a lot of points. I'm going to go across to the BJP and Mr. Nalin Kohli after we get a word in from Professor Madhu Bhalla also. Professor Madhu Bhalla, is this true? Is China using this as pressure tactics? Is there merit when the president says, we've got the muscle power, India has the wisdom?
I think the story is somewhere in between, I think this whole situation in Chumar is part of what the Chinese did in Dept as well, which is really a policy of assertive, reactive assertivism. They tried this in Vietnam, they tried this with the Philippines, it has worked. And essentially it is meant to change the status quo on the border. So this is one part of their tactics on the border, on disputed areas, whether it's maritime or territorial. The other thing about a regional war is a completely different picture. I think a completely different issue. I think if you recall, the Chinese have been talking about reorganizing their military structure ever since the defense papers of 2012, 2013, etc. And beginning this year, they established a new Security Council. I think within the framework of that Security Council, they have been reorganizing their military regions and they have been trying to create military force commands. Now, I think part of what Xi Jinping said to the PLA conference on Sunday was very much part of the reorganization of the PLA. It had nothing to do with Chumar precisely or with fighting a regional war with India. Essentially, though, we need to be wary about how the Chinese are also reorganizing their military and what that portends. But that has nothing to do in the immediate sense, I think, with what they have done in Chumar. Chumar actually has to do with Xi Jinping's view that the LAC should be, just one second. Yeah. Just 1 second, that the LAC should be dealt with quickly. I think he's the first president who has said that we must deal with it now. Deng Xiaoping didn't say that, Hu Jintao didn't say that, Jiang Zemin didn't say that, but this is the second time in India.
But is this how they want to deal with it, Professor Bhalla, and that's worrying?
If they are going to... If the LAC has to be dealt with quickly, then positions must be taken.
No, positions are so what? No, I'm going to go back to the BJP on this, Professor Bhalla, because what you and Maroof Raza are saying
the status quo
is worrying for the country, because if the Chinese are realigning their military and their army, their defense, and they're also going to be assertive, so then what's the point of talking and saying no? We have engaged and we are consulting with the Indian government and we'll talk it through, because if you're going to talk it through, why position 1,500 troops at our border, and that too on our side, Nalin Kohli? So are they trying to say we are going to come till here and then set the terms? All right, stop here, and this is what you get.
That will change the debate.
Troops are always found amassed near the border, so that's really the issue.
No. I don't think that's a conclusion you can draw from that.
Border, there is a dispute. And I think what Professor Bhalla was saying, or what Maroof was saying before that, and Ambassador C Singh, everywhere there's some truth or the other. It is a legacy, it is a problem, these are all reality. It's been raised forcefully, and that's clear in front of everybody. As they were pointing out, it's being acknowledged that we need to move towards some kind of resolution. That's there also. But I think the most important thing is that in all this din, and when the BJP Congress get down to it, then of course all reason will go out, because the Congress will make wild allegations.
No, let's not go there. Let's reason it out, Nalin Kohli.
Today, that's what I'm saying. Today, what Mr. Akrubuddin said of the Ministry of External Affairs, he said, when the question was asked of him, he said that there is some quiet work happening, and whatever the work will happen to find a solution.
But quiet work at what cost, Nalin Kohli? The civilians in that region, in Demchok and Chumar and in Chushul, they
finish my point.
No, if India is doing a canal project, who are the Chinese to come and tell us don't do it?
Then you can scream your head off as much as you want.
No, one sec, Mr. Kesavan.
So let me just finish my point and scream.
Mr. Kesavan, just hold on.
Do it after I finish my point.
No, my question to you, Nalin Kohli, is...
It's not a CWC meeting, Mr. Kesavan. Let me finish my point.
Please. He is waiting on. Nalin Kohli, let's get to the real issue here. Nalin Kohli, my question to you is...
How could anything happen
Nalin Kohli.
Serious people.
Nalin Kohli.
Seriously talks
Nalin Kohli.
in a structured way. And 1 minute, hold on. The other thing,
Mr. Kesavan, Mr. Kesavan,
look,
if this happens, nobody is going to get a word in. But Mr. Nalin Kohli, you have to get to the point rather than trying to provoke the Congress into getting into a heated debate with you or trying to get into a big... No, you're not trying to answer the question. My question to you, Mr. Nalin Kohli, is if Maroof Raza spoke about Krishna Menon and he said that we will talk the Chinese down, you had Mr. Arun Jaitley also say in April 2013, in view of the UPA's handling of the Chinese relations in the wake of repeated incursions, he said that there were various options available for a government. I am not for a moment talking about confrontation, but there are instruments of diplomacy available to the state. What instruments of diplomacy are we talking about, and how do we believe that it is working? Because when on the one side the government says, oh, we are engaging in talks and there will be a resolution, a consensus that's been arrived at, and on the other hand, all that you're seeing is sustained build-up of troops. The Chinese actually coming and pitching tents right next to where the Indian perceived territory is, right next to where there is a canal project that is being put out by the locals and by India, and telling them, you stop the canal project, otherwise we won't go. They're bringing their civilians in. Now, all this is happening, and on the other hand, you're saying we're talking. How do we believe this?
No, hold on. You asked a good question. Well, I mean, it's your prerogative whether you believe the government of India or you don't.
No, we believe what we see.
That's your prerogative.
We are seeing troop build-up. We are seeing the army chief cancel a trip to Bhutan.
I'm not fighting about that. I'm merely telling you that I can't take away your rights. However, let's go back to the question you asked. And the question you asked is basically that what are the diplomatic options? Can you please tell me on a single occasion where publicly the Prime Minister of India has told the President of China in no uncertain terms, and that's followed up by the statement that he reads out, that this is a matter of concern and it's acknowledged. Now, if that's not a diplomatic tool, then what is? I mean, what do you think a diplomatic tool is? Picking up a bazooka and...
But with all due respect, with all...
timid and faint-hearted approach. You need to let me come in because the Prime Minister has been given assurance by the President.
Yes,
but what happens? The problem is this. The timid and faint-hearted approach of this government.
Why don't you? I mean, perhaps since you are the expert at it, and we have inherited 56 years of a goof-up policy, why don't you tell us what is the solution to take us more into the depth?
Have been increasing from inches to miles. Inches to miles are the incursions and infiltrations happening in a brazen way. People talked about depth and
what were you doing for 10 years? Were you sleeping the sleep of Kukaran?
Prime Minister came in
for 2 weeks. Tell me honestly, Mr. Kesavan,
what is happening
here? Were you in slumber or hibernation in the last 10 years? With all these bright ideas that you are telling me now after 4 months,
don't try to divert and digress
your talents could have been utilized in the first 4 months when the UPA was elected in 2004.
This is the tactics diplomacy.
Nalin Kohli,
the difference between the UPA... let me complete.
Yes,
the difference between the UPA and the NDA...
there is a difference, thank God.
Nalin Kohli, just wait on.
Restraint. Let me complete.
Yeah.
Strategic restraint, calibrated, aggression and, measured steps and deft diplomacy marks the UPA's foreign policy. But what
glorious inaction is considered strategic...
Well, what marked, Mr. Kesavan, with all due respect,
glorious inaction is considered...
Mr. Kesavan...
I like your words, Mr. Kesavan.
about China.
Well, Mr. C R Kesavan, Mr. C R Kesavan, what happens is, in this case, the Congress is defending the indefensible because it was the UPA government's external affairs minister who called this entire problem of incursions nothing but acne. So we don't know.
Incursion here. It's been 13 days. There is no historic president where a sitting president is here and.
Well, I guess by your standards we need to
see
from a border issue.
Right.
What happened
now, Mr. C R Kesavan, the fact is there is no precedent in the UPA government where the Prime Minister openly addressed the issue of incursions and he got an assurance, even though verbal, from the Chinese president. But Maroof Raza, moving away from our political leaders on the panel here, going back to Mr. C Singh and Maroof Raza, the issue is the Chinese president might have acknowledged the issue of incursions and that the border issue has to be resolved. But what has he done about it? What we would have wanted to see, Maroof Raza, is the troop deployment easing, the civilians backing off and both troops backing off. That has not happened. So the Chinese certainly are not walking the talk.
Anand, see, the current government, the BJP-led government, has a lot of diplomatic achievements to the last 100 days they've been in power. But the devil is in the details. And the details here require to have a more clearer understanding of the situation in the ground. And I'm sorry to say that not enough is being done in terms of articulating what India's capabilities are today. There is a perception problem in China. China views India still to be a straggling country, not good enough to catch up with the Chinese economically, but China must be made to understand that despite all the cacophony of noises in India, including the cacophony of noise on this channel, India is capable of a comprehensive response in the long run if India decides to put its act together. That message must go out, that any further incursions, and if they don't withdraw, the damage to the Chinese troops and the punishment to them would be far in excess of the incursions they take on. China respects might. China doesn't respect passivity. That's the first thing. And the second point which I wish to make, that to the credit of the UPA government, let us acknowledge that there was awareness in their last days that yes, we need to have a more aggressive response to the Chinese, and therefore they sanctioned the strike corps. Therefore, they sanctioned the building of border roads, which had been neglected for a long time. We are still far from fully prepared. But let me assure you and the country, my understanding is, in the event of China doing muscle flexing, we are capable of hitting them pretty hard, especially in Ladakh, because they are at the teetering edge of their logistics chain. They cannot stretch themselves very much further. Well, we are showing matured response, but a message must go out to the Chinese. Enough is enough. Push back.
But these are the facts. These are the facts. Intelligence reports say that China is now capable of inducting rapid reaction force formation into Tibet for operations against India or for internal security duties within 48 hours. Can India respond to that? Even now, the troop build-up on China, their approach, their logistical build-up is far greater than India is.
Building up a division every 36 hours on the Tibetan plateau. But let me tell you, when you have to fight an offensive battle, you need in mountains something like 10 times more troops than you are going to face. We have enough troops in place. China cannot trod over Indian territory. It is not.
But they are doing it at the moment. There have been 334 incursions by the government's own data and admission. What has been done about that, Maroof?
Is capable of holding its own, China or no China.
It's okay to say that we are ready and we can face China. But we know that we are working from a weaker position, Mr. Nalin Kohli.
The government has not had a full-time defense minister. What are they talking about? They've never had a full-time defense minister. And why are you surprised with the incursions? You don't have a full-time defense minister right from the start of this government.
Perhaps Mr. Kesavan
That's the importance they give the national interest in security.
I didn't realize his name was Nalin Kohli. If I may answer, then you can ask a question to Mr. Kesavan too. I think I'd like to take the debate first further to what Maroof was saying, because there were some substantive points he was making. I think the same point could go ahead. Thank you for raising the defense point, Mr. Kesavan, is that the armed forces do require a lot of intervention in terms of equipment, in terms of even ammunition. If you'll only go by what comes out in the newspaper, we don't even have enough ammunition to take care of, artillery stuff for 20 days or 30 days. So a lot of things need to be done, and the government is going to obviously take those decisions. So therefore,
you don't have a full-time defense minister.
Who is asking me the question? It must be Mr. Kesavan. Nobody else disturbs on this panel. Who's asking me this question now in between? Is it you, Anand, or is it Mr. Kesavan, as I expect?
It's the way you interrupt people.
Right, Nalin Kohli, that was C R Kesavan asking you. You don't have a full-time defense minister. What are you going to do to fix the problems that still remain? Be it the baggage that you're carrying from the previous government, or what you've not been able to achieve in the last 100-odd days.
He brought the army also literally to its knees. I mean, if it wasn't for corruption and therefore the other side was non-buying of any equipment. So one of the largest armies, Air Force, Navy and all was brought to its brink.
Mr. Nalin Kohli, with all due respect, with all due respect, the concern is, are our borders safe? Can we guard our borders from Chinese aggression? Because they think they can willingly walk into our area and pitch tents and get away with it.
Our thumbs in virtual inaction, which is called glorious restraint, as Mr. Kesavan would like us to believe.
So tell us, sir, what's the solution? Where is the solution? What happened with all the bonhomie with the Chinese president? Why has it not translated to action down on ground? Is there a straightforward answer to that, Nalin Kohli?
I don't know whether... I really don't know, honestly speaking, whether, we are proposing war or are we expecting...
No, we're not proposing war, but where are the results, sir?
Asked him to return.
Where are the results, sir?
I don't think that is really the way to approach it.
Anand,
I mean, certainly, a baby is born in 9 months. You may desire to have a baby born in 24 hours. It's not going to happen.
No, that's not the case, Mr. Nalin Kohli.
As
Mr. Nalin Kohli
Singh clearly said, it's taken 50 years for the country to come to where it is today. From the 1950s right up to here.
No, Mr. Nalin Kohli, please ask.
24 hours. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic, and it's never going to happen.
Mr. Nalin Kohli, is it not even realistic to expect that when the Chinese president, for the first time...
That's exactly what I'm saying. Till sustained efforts are made, which Narendra Modi's government is doing, solutions won't come. Solutions to problems don't come by just desiring them. They come when you work at them. And that's true for anything. Economy,
Agreed.
Corruption, price rise.
Not even challenging you there. But the question to you, Mr. Nalin Kohli, is, before I go across to Maroof Raza, the question to you, Mr. Nalin Kohli, is that when the Chinese president acknowledges Narendra Modi's comment that the border issue remains a concern, and he is very well aware of what is happening in Chumar, what is happening in Chushul, and what is happening in Demchok, wouldn't you wanted to have seen a response there immediately down on ground, which would have been absolute recognition that the India and China are talking?